On today's episode, I have a very special guest joining me today. I have the founder and CEO of RenzlerMedia, Skyler Irvine. We're so excited to share a little bit more about the AZ BizLink branding series launching in 2020. On today's episode, I have a phenomenal guest joining me today, Mr. Skyler Irvine. Thanks so much for joining me.
Lindsay, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
So those of you that don't know, Skyler is the mastermind behind RenzlerMedia, which is also the organization that helps to produce my podcast. So I've gotten to know him over the last couple of months with working together, and just so excited about the direction that we're heading and some of our key initiatives we'll be working on together in 2020.
Well, you're very kind. I'll take mind behind RenzlerMedia. I don't know if I'm a mastermind yet, but I appreciate that. And I as well am very excited about what we've got cooking.
So kind of leading into that, so we've been meeting on a regular basis, kind of talking through AZ BizLink, some of the key initiatives that I'm looking to launch. We certainly want to continue to have our podcast, so stay tuned for more of those coming in 2020. But with that, we've been listening to the needs of the business community, and a lot of individuals, though they love our workforce and leadership events, there's some other areas and categories of their businesses that they really would love more content on, and one just so happens to be branding. So I thought, who better here in the local business community to partner with than Skyler and the team at RenzlerMedia. So Skyler, would you mind maybe sharing a little bit more about some of the topics we'll be covering together in the branding series?
Yeah, a lot of it's just kind of merging some of the stuff that I think is confusing for a lot of CEOs or executives. I kind of spent the last couple of years going all in on this space that is complicated to a lot of people, especially people that have built a really big book of business. What I see a lot in the market is people that are great at social media, that are building a brand online, but really don't have a lot of business credibility or history or experience behind them. And they're starting to eat into some of the business that experienced entrepreneurs, CEOs, business owners have, because they don't understand the branding space as much. And I've always wanted to kind of bridge the gap to where it's not confusing, or it shouldn't be something that you look down on. Branding, social media influencer, a lot of these words have gotten bad connotations over time. Really, it's just a reputation. It's how many people can you reach? Is your message being shared with as many people as it possibly could be? And social media, digital video, podcasting are ways to reach more people. And I think that if you've got a great message and you combine it with good reach, you're just going to help more people. And a lot of the principles of what we kind of designed for next year are hitting each of those into very specific categories under the umbrella of this is branding in 2020 in the professional world or in the personal world.
For a lot of different business owners, executives, business development professionals, sales individuals, I think it can be a little overwhelming when it comes to just building your brand overall. It's like, where do you start? Mm-hmm. So I think through the series, we're breaking it down into specific categories. So that way it's a little bit more digestible. So not everybody needs help with every facet of their branding experience, but they may need help with LinkedIn. They may need help with repurposing content. They may need help with, if I want to start a podcast, how do I even go about doing it? So I think we have some really unique conversations. Mm-hmm. The other wonderful thing too is that we're bringing in other local leaders.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
To help, fuel the fire and, provide additional content. So our goal is just to provide the resources or the outlets, people that can give you real-time information. They're talking about the daily application and what's working, what's not working, what should you be doing, or what would be wasting your time. And so I'm really, really looking forward to what's to come in 2020.
Yeah, me too. And I think the bigger you get in business and the more experience you have, you see a lot of narrow focus in how much sense it makes to you in your industry. And then to kind of try to open yourself up to now being on Instagram seems so daunting because you don't really understand it. So you might not appreciate it that much. But to get into a room with people that might have a lot of experience with Instagram, or are business owners that might have 6 months worth of experience in Instagram, I think you get a lot more value out of that than listening to just an expert talk about how to build a business on Instagram. Because what appeals to people at different levels, I think, changes over time. And I think we're looking at this as an opportunity to create a conversation as far as here's what's working right now. But a year from now, this exact same talk could be completely different because maybe it's about TikTok 3 years from now and Instagram is gone. And I think that can be really overwhelming to people. But by building a brand instead of trying to market on these platforms, I think you overcome some of those obstacles because it's really, if you're good at creating video content and you have a message that's clear and an audience that's engaging with you, it doesn't matter if they're consuming it on LinkedIn or TikTok or YouTube. It's still you and your message. It's just changed a little bit depending on where it is. Like if you're watching HBO, you might see cuss words. If you're watching it on TBS, they're going to bleep out the cuss words, but you can still watch the same show and kind of get the same message.
There's a lot of content out there. I mean, we can find YouTube videos or blogs, or there's podcasts, there's books. Certainly, there's a lot of information out there for the consumer to find. But I think really what a lot of individuals are looking for are those one-on-one conversations or the group settings in which they can ask real live people that are doing it on a daily basis without having to go and pay an astronomical number to go to their seminar or conference or whatever it may be. So aside from coming to our events in 2020, which I think everyone should do, those details will be out later actually at the end of November is when we'll be producing that calendar. But I'm curious, what other resources or tools have you used, or what have you found to be really helpful as you've kind of navigated your professional career?
For me, I've always had a lot more value out of doing. I think like if information was all we need, we'd all be billionaires with six packs. Like we have all of the information that we need, but we're still struggling. Why is that? So for me, I always learn best by doing and then trying to teach it. And if I can teach it to someone in a way that's understandable, I really feel like I have a grasp on it. And like there was a time when I was pivoting away from real estate, wanted to go into marketing. I took almost an entire year off making videos for YouTube. And I didn't totally know why. I just knew there was something there. And it wasn't trying to become a famous YouTuber. It was using that as a way to, all right, what does this process look like? Filming, editing, publishing, getting that information as fast as I could. So now when I talk to a business person who's really good at what they do, but they've never done video before, I know what they're going through because I've done that. If I'm talking to an experienced videographer who I'm hiring to create a project for me, I've done video enough to where I know the hurdles that they're going through and how to overcome them. I'm not going to be as talented as they are, but I have at least an understanding of it. So for me, the act of doing and experiencing, and even if I look silly or if I'm publishing videos that don't look that good, it's kind of building that experience and building that both like, I don't know, like professionally, but also emotionally. The biggest struggle that most people have when it comes to creating content isn't the creating, isn't the editing, isn't the organizing. It's actually hitting the share button when it's all said and done. And what's going to happen when I put this thing out there? And it's easy to say that, but it's something that I've also experienced and can understand. And I think that that's where I get my most value is by going through that experience. And then I can communicate a lot better when people are going through that themselves.
And I think for a lot of us, it's not that we're necessarily doing it wrong. I don't think there's really a wrong way to go about it. But are there best practices? Are there different tools or techniques? Are there efficiencies or processes that we could look to implement to make us that much better? And I think the answer is yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've always been a big believer, and I drive my team nuts when I say it, but it's always like get started, then get better, and then don't stop. And most people fail one of those three simple steps. And it's, I can't get started because it's not perfect yet. I know people with 10 videos that are not done yet, so no one's sharing them, and they're never going to see the light of day. Meanwhile, if you were to put those 10 videos out, you'd be so much better on your 11th video by now. Or you're getting caught up in like not wanting to share things a certain way, or you're not getting enough following fast enough so you quit when maybe you were 1 or 2 videos away from getting better. Getting caught up in, I don't have enough of the right equipment to even get started yet, so I'm never going to do anything altogether. Meanwhile, your competitor that started with their cell phone is now that much further ahead of you, and now you're looking at them instead of your business. And these are just things that like are their natural progressions of doing this. And you used to be able to get really good at your business and you could just now buy commercials on TV and own that market for the next 10 years. Well, it doesn't work that way anymore. People's attention keeps shifting. So the people that are really good at getting attention might not be good at business. What does the future of business look like? I looked at it as, all right, you're either going to have to work twice as hard. You're going to have to work on your business, get really good at it and know it better than anyone else. And then also be marketing it on a regular basis across multiple channels, because there's more channels every day than there were before. Or you're going to have to find a business partner who does one of those things and you do the other one. Or you're going to have to find an agency to partner with and you focus on your business and you got an agency that's got your back. I set out to have RenzlerMedia become that agency, and I'm proud of where we are and I'm proud of where we're headed, but we're also not for everyone, and not everyone is there. I also get better myself by saying, here's exactly what we're doing, or here's what I would do if I were you. Because I know you can't just copy that and it's going to work for the next 10 years, because 6 months from now, it's going to change again. And I just will get better by saying, all right, here's what we're doing now. Here's how it's changing, or here's how to maximize it. Or podcasting works really well for the busy business professional who says, I don't have time to create content. But if they could sit down and have a 45, 25-minute conversation with someone about their business that they probably do already, and it's captured, and then it's put out in audio, put out in video, then repurposed into photos and LinkedIn posts and 60-second video clips, well, all of a sudden, that's like a month's worth of content they didn't have before for 45 minutes. And I think that's really valuable, because then it's who has the best message. It's not really who's producing the most or who's spending the most on their marketing. It's the best message wins.
I completely agree. So it does come down to the best message and who's out there sharing it on a consistent basis. So we all have competition, and what's the deciding factor behind why one client chooses you over your competitor? And a lot of times it's based on their opinion, like how you're influencing them through your social interactions, how you're involved in philanthropy, the culture of your organization. And a lot of times that's told through the stories you have on social media, through your email marketing, or your overall brand that you've built. So if you're not thinking about how you integrate that into your daily business practices, I would highly encourage, our listeners to really think about how they're going to integrate that into their business plan for 2020, because it's really essential. You could be one of the best practitioners in your given field, but if you're not consistently telling the story to a large amount of people on a daily basis, you're probably missing out on a lot of deal flow or work moving forward.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be complicated either, because a lot of it's like, how many people forget their realtor's name 6 months after buying a house because you're not staying in front of them? How hard is it to send an email once a month that's just a 60-second video of yourself saying, thank you for being in business with me. I appreciate it. How's your house? Whatever. And it's not that hard once you do. You can do that with an iPhone. So it's the power of video versus just sending an email or sending a text or even making a phone call, which is hard to scale. But a video on a regular basis, they're seeing you, it's personable, they get to know who you are. And if it's someone you've already worked with, you're just kind of reminding them that you're still here in case they need something. You don't have to sell to them, you don't have to market to them. They're already in your database. And I see a lot of people's business like jump 30% year over year just by implementing one video a month sent to their current database. And what sucks is usually like early on is they start doing that, and all of a sudden the phone starts ringing, and it's people that just bought a house with someone else. They say, hey, I'm so glad we just bought a house. You'd be so thrilled for us. And the realtor's like, what do you mean? You didn't even call me? And it's because they weren't
top of mind.
Exactly. And just by being top of mind, that first iteration is a bummer because you start realizing all these missed opportunities, but then you start capturing it and realizing it's real. And that's just in the real estate business. I mean, there's a lot of other opportunities, I think, in other places where it's not even just marketing. It's just leveraging your scarce resources and time and staying in front of the people you want to stay in front of, your best customers, your current customers, your past customers. So that way, if they need your services, you're the first person they think of. How easy is it for them to recommend you in case like they come across their neighbor who needs your services? They might not remember your name. They're not carrying your business card around with you. They might say, oh my God, I forget my realtor's name. That's too bad. I'm sorry. And then a week later, they see your video pop up on LinkedIn and they say, oh, hey, Jim, this is the guy I was telling you about. And all of a sudden you got this lead that didn't exist before.
I want to talk about, in your opinion, the difference between producing content that includes a video versus just text and photos throughout the course of your career and over, how you're helping with other companies and their strategies. Is there one that works better than the other?
I mean, the answer is obvious. I would hope by now. I'm someone who loved writing. I really did. I was blogging. I was doing financial blogging. I was trying to teach people about personal finance to help me get better personal finance. It really helped my career. I got a lot of cool opportunities writing for marketwatch.com, being a contributor for Phoenix Real Estate. And I did I really enjoyed it. Getting up early, writing, reading, and 2 videos I put out on social media did so much more for me than all of the other writing I ever did combined. And it's just because 30 seconds, 60 seconds watching someone on video, you get to know them so much more than you ever can through just the written word. And you might not like me, you might be okay with me, or you might love me, but you know a lot faster than you do by written word. And when it comes to business, I got to this point where in real estate, a million years ago, it feels like, I started getting less listing opportunities to go on listing appointments to sell. But the people that were contacting me just to hire me, not to come pitch to them. And it's because they had enough information to make their decision. It wasn't trying to get the opportunity to sell to them. And to me, I hated selling. I never liked selling. I want to teach, I want to share, I want to help. But if you don't want to work with me, I'm not going to try to convince you to work with me. And because of that, it's just video creates that connection so much faster than anything else. However, you can also get written word out of video. And we talk about this all the time, repurposing the stuff we're doing, but a video can now turn into a screenshot, a post, a short video, an article on LinkedIn. We can transcribe this whole thing. It goes up on YouTube. And if we put the right SEO and the right closed captionings, everything we talked about now goes into YouTube's algorithm and it becomes its own blog post. And it's just, if you could go back 20 years and become the first blogger in your industry, you probably would. This is what we're doing right now with audio podcasts and with videos on YouTube. It's just, you don't have to become a famous YouTuber. Just have the best YouTube channel in your industry for your neighborhood right now, and it will do gangbusters for your business over the next 5 years.
I think a lot of people's hesitation is just getting started. Where do you start? Especially if they're not trained to be in front of the camera. A lot of us have no formal training. We didn't go to school for that. So I think, you and I had to start somewhere, and a lot of people see us in videos all the time, but it's not, a year ago, I really wasn't doing a lot of video content, and I've personally seen how much that's impacted and how my network
What kept you
has
from
grown.
wanting to start?
I didn't know who would listen to it. I think that was my biggest hesitation for a long period of time. I was always involved in social media, but
you're someone who was putting on events that people showed up to and still had this hesitation of, well, who's going to want to listen to this? And it's a real thing. We put these obstacles in front of ourselves that don't need to exist. Because even if it just helps one person on the other side of the world in the middle of the night, that didn't happen otherwise.
Yeah, and I've been able to build on my personal brand. So for the longest time, I was really focused on building the brands of the employers that I worked for, which is very important for anybody's career. But it's also important that you kind of build your own voice, or people kind of know you as an individual. So I've definitely leveraged social media, video content, and all of that to kind of help build that brand as well. And that will only set everybody up for long-term success.
Yeah, what's funny is there's times where people will come in to do something and not realize that we're filming and say, well, we can't film. I'm not ready to be on camera. I look like this. And it's 4:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. And it's like, you just went out in the world looking like this. You've shown everyone you've known who you are, but for some reason being in front of camera changes how you want to present yourself. And that, I don't know why it happens. I'm not going to judge that it happens. I'm just aware that it does happen. And I think that when it comes to where to start, if you can just get over that thing, that is something that everyone is dealing with. If you can just get over that and realize you're not alone, that is the best way to start, because then you're comfortable like just doing an Instagram story. Cool, it disappears in 24 hours. It won't be there forever. If it's bad, it's not going to ruin your business. It'll just get ignored and thrown away. No one will remember it, and you'll be fine. So if you want to do baby steps, do baby steps. That's awesome. I'm not. I'm the weirdo that just goes all in and commits to doing 100 videos in 100 days on YouTube like an idiot. And then I feel like, okay, now I know a lot. Now I feel comfortable with doing a lot of this stuff.
Well, and I think individuals like authentic storytellers, right? If you're just there trying to promote the greater good, or you're just trying to help people through the stories that you're telling, or whatever it may be, I think that that's so much more impactful. And they're not expecting you to be on the camera like a news anchor or to be perfectly polished.
And I still think that takes time too. You almost have to find your message, because even then it's almost like when you go and start a new school and you're like, nobody knows me here. I'm going to be cooler than I was at my previous school. And then 2 weeks later, you're back to yourself because you are who you are. And everyone's like, oh, this is you. when people start video, they really want to create this persona for themselves, and it feels unnatural. And as the creator, it feels like work. It doesn't feel good. So it's another obstacle that kind of gets in your way. But I understand that it just is something that does occur. I think that when people want to do video, it's better to do one video a week than to do a bunch of videos at once and then put them out over a week, because each one you're going to learn a little bit more. But if you're doing it in bunches, you're learning slower. And this is going to last you for 4 weeks instead of one. And you kind of, I mean, go back and watch my earliest video. Go back and watch our first podcast, really, because like we started on an iPhone and the camera turned off in the middle of it and like it fell off and broke, and it was a mess. But we just kept adding to it, and I got better as an interviewer, as a communicator. We got better production wise. We started adding equipment over time. A lot of the stuff we do now this isn't necessary. Like, we don't need a lot of this stuff. It looks really nice. If your message is really good, there's certain people like T. Boone Pickens, rest in peace recently, but he was someone that I would watch on a grainy video that I could barely understand, because he was so smart about this one industry that I was fascinated by, that I just wanted to consume him. I've also walked out of movies that were $100 million budgets, because it's not really the production. It's a balance of, is the message combined with what I want out of the message.
And how about production wise? Do you need equipment? What kind of equipment do you minimally need just to get started?
So like, it's gonna annoy people, but like the phones we have right now are better than the cameras I started with. They're so good. And I'm someone who's gadget. I like buying stuff I don't need, and I get addicted to that. If I could buy this one lens, I could do this one thing that's going to cost a lot of money, but I couldn't do it before. But in reality, if you're trying to improve your video content, it's going to be 80% lighting and audio, and your camera in your pocket is good enough. And when you're a realtor and you're walking around a kitchen and it's all marble and you're wondering why it just sounds terrible because there's so much echo, it's because you just need external audio. And there's a lot of low cost ways to do it. And Google and YouTube are a really easy way to find those answers. But if you learn how to just, okay, instead of having the sun behind me, I'm going to face the sun. So I have natural lighting, I'm shooting a selfie, and I'm either in a carpeted area or I've got an external microphone that cost me $50, your videos are going to stand out so much more than they did prior.
And how about, I mean, I hate to make this plug, but
plug it.
But I'm thinking about your podcast program and how you have that starter kit. Just because with video content, a lot of times we can do a lot of stuff from home, but we don't necessarily know how to get started. Do you mind just sharing a little bit more about your podcast starter kit?
Yeah, the podcasting for me is really interesting space for a lot of reasons. And I don't think people realize how powerful it is as a lead generation tool if you're in sales, a way to build your brand in a small area, a way to where you can get so much more business for your existing business than you're ever going to get by trying to advertise or monetize with silly ads or whatever. You don't need hundreds of thousands of subscribers to have it have a real impact. And just the fact that it creates face-to-face opportunities and you become a networker and connect people. Some people are very busy and they've built a successful business and they want high quality content in a studio, and being able to come down here once a week, once a month, and to get a ton of content out of it in a way where you don't have to create ideas. You are just having a conversation that you're already having. That's the lowest stress way to create content that I could ever imagine. So when I was creating that, it was, what would I want if I was too busy to create content? And that's what that is. I've spent the next chunk of time is, there's a lot of people out there that are do-it-yourselfers that would really love to be doing this. Or I could be doing so much more if I could do it from home or on the weekends, or if I travel to a conference. What does that look like? I don't know where to start. So putting together, what does that package look like? And it's everything from, here's a kit that you can just click and buy all this gear on Amazon, watch this video of how we use it, and then upload audio files to us to just do the rest. So if you don't have to worry about all of the other stuff, but you're a do-it-yourselfer where you want to do more of it, it's kind of everything in between, to where now you could do 5 of them a week instead of 1 a week, because you only do the fun stuff. You don't have to do the stuff that isn't that fun. I think that's kind of what you mean with kind of the high-end kit and the low-end kit of trying to meet in the middle.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing a little bit more about that and how you guys have adapted to meet people exactly where they are. I know for me, life is busy in general. So having that turnkey solution where I just show up with my favorite guest speaker and we have this conversation, that's really been impactful for me. And it's been wonderful to kind of further those relationships based on the dialogue that we've been able to have on the podcast.
And I'm like, if I'm doing a podcast too, I know I'm going to be better at talking to you if I don't have to worry about if this is actually recording. Like having someone in charge of that makes me better at this part. And some people like really love the craft and it's not for them. Some people, I just want to have better conversations or I want to meet more people and not know that that's all taken care of. And I think there's something for everyone.
I absolutely agree. I love hitting the easy button. I think you guys certainly do a wonderful job as far as helping with that.
Thank you. That was a great plug. Yeah.
As far as branding goes, certainly we're going to provide them with some additional strategies, some key topics. Is there anything else that you really want to get people thinking about as they're moving into 2020 as it relates to their personal or professional brand?
I think it's going to be really interesting when we really stop separating professional and personal. Everything is recorded now. There isn't one or the other. Like if you are trying to hide your Facebook account because you're using your middle name instead of your last name, it causes more concern than if you just are there. Why is this not matched up with your LinkedIn account? And it's just, we're entering this world where I don't know a lot of people that look at resumes anymore. You get most of your jobs not because of your GPA, you get them because of someone you knew, got you the invite, got you the opportunity, and then what you do with that for the rest of your life is kind of on you. But usually it's that first kind of initial introduction. Content is the new business card. I think what is out there is more important than your website. Going to your Instagram page and kind of seeing what else is there is a fast way to kind of get to know someone rather than what you heard about from someone else. So I just think it's this world where a lot of this stuff is in separate places. It's all going to kind of mesh into one. Personal and professional is going to kind of change. And really what your brand is just what people think about you when you're not around. If someone says something about you and you're not there, is someone else going to stick up for you and say, I don't think that's true. Or I heard the same thing. Or actually I read this and like, I'm going to either stand up for you. And I think not overcomplicating it and just realizing that your brand is your reputation. It's what people think about you when you're not around. It's how they feel when they see your number pop up on the caller ID. Do they want to answer it? Or are they trying to dodge it? It's really not more complicated than that, especially as we take things that are for rich people and celebrities are always going to come down and reach smaller and smaller communities. And being an influencer 5 years from now is going to mean maybe having 100,000 followers or 50,000 followers instead of tens of millions. And it'll be on a very niche platform that doesn't even exist yet. But that person's going to make an awesome career for themselves and live an awesome life. They might not become a billionaire or multimillionaire, but they could be making $500,000 a year creating in a space that they love. And it's just going to create many more of those opportunities than just the really high end ones for a few people.
I went to an interesting seminar this morning, so that's why I feel like it's top of mind, but it was talking about how you create or enhance the employee experience and then really focusing in on that culture. And a huge element to that is how you're communicating that to your team members internally and also how you're sharing that out in the community for employee retention as well as attraction. So though people may get jobs now based on their profiles and who they knew through their social networks, a lot of employers now have to market to that because they know employees are looking at them from the outside saying, what are they doing for their employees? What are they doing for camaraderie or team building or philanthropy or whatever it may be? So
yeah, and I think what gets dangerous too is the companies that are trying to be charitable for the wrong reasons, doing it for employee engagement, but really they don't really care about it, or buy a pair of our sneakers and we donate one. And it's like, well, why are you putting that on the customer? If you want to donate it out of your money. Don't make the customer pay more for those donations. So that becomes tricky with, if you can flip it on the side of whoever is the leader, if they really do care about something, that will permeate, I think, to the rest of the company and also attract more people like that. And if you're a startup and you can't offer as much money as your competitors, but you're really passionate about changing the world, for example, you'll attract other people that want to change the world because that's more important than money to them. So that's how you can compete with people that are maybe stealing your employees, or you're trying to outspend them on LinkedIn ads to land more applications in your job or whatever. But really, it's just whatever you are passionate about. If you own that, it will permeate to the rest of the either current company culture or future company culture.
Skyler, what are you most looking forward to in 2020?
I'm most looking forward to our branding series next year. Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to it as well. Skyler, thanks so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you for having me. This was awesome.